defense cooperation agreement between the Philippines and the United States, we have to also understand the bigger geopolitical context, particularly the new Cold War between China and the United States. And accordingly, we also have to understand not only the grand strategy of superpowers, particularly China, but we also have to figure out what could be the Philippines' grand strategy in order to survive and to thrive in the 21st century. In order to understand the new Cold War between US and China and what should be the focus of the Philippines in the coming decades in terms of its national security strategy, to better understand the way forward for the Philippines, we're going to talk to someone who really knows his stuff. Someone who served in the Philippine Navy at the highest levels, and someone who's educating the Filipino public on how we should move forward and thrive in a new Cold War era between US and China. Now, obviously, the Scarborough issue was a watershed, but so was President Duterte's term in office. It came as a shock to a lot of people that the Philippines would have a president like that. I'm not only talking about the drug war, but someone who would cause an American president, someone who would question the foundation of the administration. As someone who was serving in the Navy, how did you feel about that? I mean, like, suddenly we have a president like this. Did you feel it's just braggadocio? Was this just, rhetorical posturing? Or you felt something fundamental was going on, some foundational crisis in our alliance with the United States?
Hindi naman kaagad. As an institution, the armed forces that is supposed to be apolitical. So
sure,
whoever sits there as a president, that's your commander-in-chief.
But you also have constitutional duties, right? To defend the Philippine sovereignty,
but,
right?
You presume assume regularity of everything.
Right.
So you give that to him. That's your commander-in-chief. Okay. So of course, nung meron ng mga directives na parang, for me, I call it an ethical dilemma kasi you're receiving instructions that are legitimate instructions. But kung ibabangga mo doon sa constitutional mandate, parang disconnected na. Okay? So that's an ethical dilemma for us.
Right, medyo gray zone ang
nag-gray zone ka na kumbaga. But of course, you have to follow orders. Kasi it's not illegal.
No, I mean, he's the commander-in-chief, right?
So it's not illegal. So you may not agree with it, but that's his call. Kumbaga, again, you presume na the man on the balcony has a greater,
and he has
a broader vista of
and he has a
things.
democratic mandate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the reason I'm saying is that it's not just the talking. I mean, we canceled plans for joint patrols with the U.S. I remember that was a big issue being discussed 2014, 2015. I covered this as a journalist, starting writing about this issue 2011. So I remember things on a granular level. There was a lot of excitement on the joint patrols, and then suddenly Balikatan gets kind of bumped off or taken away from the maritime security aspects and just put on the HADR. Like, that must have been big for people in the Navy, right? Like, what's going on? Like, the whole momentum, all the plans we had on how to move forward is kind of out of the window. Boom, not to mention the arbitration award is out now, which clearly says China has no business claiming these areas. And the Philippines kind of has more business being in those areas. That must have been a difficult moment, right? I mean, it's not only ethical, it's just maybe existential moment for some people, right? Or maybe not, I don't know, maybe I'm seeing it a little bit too dramatized, but that's how I saw it. I mean, from the outside, I'm looking at it as someone who understands it, like, whoa, this is crazy, and for us from the outside, we have to explain this to the world. I imagine, I'm trying to imagine what it was for you people on the front line.
Well, it's like parang nakatali yung kamay mo.
Yeah.
And again, yung vacuum thing. We may not have the most modern ships at that time.
But still.
But the fact that we're patrolling before that, we have presence. Okay. Kumbaga, the analogy there is in your barangay there's a policeman, community policing. So as long as the policeman is walking the beat, kumbaga, ng community, syempre yung mga criminal elements doon would stand out. Kumbaga, iwas yan eh. But when you say to the policeman, community policeman, you stop patrolling, what do you expect? So yun yung nangyari. And that was for 6 years.
So there's a cost. There's a cost. Now, the reason why I mentioned this, Admiral, is this. Okay, I also hear this from people who work in both administration, meaning Marcos Jr. and Duterte. They keep on saying, no. If you look at it, all that drama actually gave leverage to us because it made the Americans take us more seriously and all. Parang, I kind of see how it makes sense if you're not really familiar with the situation, but actually if you're familiar with the situation, actually there were costs to what Duterte did, right? Suspending the patrols, suspending the balikatan, not allowing the EDCA to be fully implemented for a very long time. We'll discuss EDCA more. That had a cost. And for me, if you want the US to take you more seriously, did you have it to do it in the Duterte way? I can think of 1,000 other ways to get the American people's attention on this.
You know, Richard, you're the third person I heard that narrative in the past 2 days.
Right? Because it's becoming the thing, right? Yeah.
And I haven't heard that last week.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Baka coordinated yan.
So,
what's going on here? Yeah.
Maybe they're trying to deodorize yung image of the former president and maybe paving the way
make it
for
smooth in terms of the departure. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. So last week I haven't heard that narrative, but
Yeah.
for the past 2 days, you're the third person I heard that.
On the record, I heard this first time more like 1 month ago. It's like, yeah. So I can send you the links and all. You know?
Okay.
I was like, that's an interesting way of looking. But for me, I think Duterte was a net negative for us when it comes to strengthening our position. He did some things right here and there, or Secretary Lorenzana did certain things right and there, but I think overall he was a net negative. I can imagine any other president would have, without all the Duterte School of Diplomacy, could have still made us more important to Americans without all the costs that we incurred. I mean, this is my take on the issue after obsessively writing and thinking about it. So I just want you to, what is your reading? Because you have good friends like, Jay Batumbakal, who also has written about the fishery aspects of it, that because we were not asserting ourselves as much, we're losing more than $600 million, conservative estimates, of fishing resources. A lot of that to IAU from China, right? To a certain degree, you can say Vietnam, etc. So I just don't get that argument that, no, Duterte, that was just a drama to set it up for Marcos. Like, I'm not sure it was coordinated that way. I think it was just by some accidents of history once Marcos came in. Medyo mas kailangan tayo ng America, which we'll talk about later on the Taiwan issue. What is your take? Because I want to see the take of a man who was in the ring, right?
I look at this as a publicity, maybe political in nature. The fact that it, as I said, I heard of it only the past 2 days.
Like it becomes more frequent, yeah.
And you said it came in last month.
Right.
So maybe it's it's maybe a political thing.
Right.
Kasi I didn't see that. And kumbaga, if we assess the past administration, you would say na as far as foreign policy, medyo problematic siya.
Problematic, definitely.
I mean, yung fundamentals lang, problematic na. How much more now you're going to say na deliberate yun? There's a method to the madness during that time.
Right.
Parang that's
stretching.
That's stretching it too far.
Too far, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, I find that interesting, but I'm saying it's like, no, I don't think it worked that way. I think we lost a lot. The fact that we did not assert the arbitration award early on, right away, we didn't build that coalition. I think we lost a lot of momentum. My sense is, of course, we're not going to name names. I felt a lot of confusion, demoralization among many people in the service. So yeah, I mean, it was very. Ganito kasi, just to be transparent, initially I supported Duterte raising those questions about ano bang ambag ng alliance.